What happens when history is buried but a filmmaker dares to dig it up? Why is Bengal's past, soaked in blood and silence, suddenly at the center of a storm? And why is everyone, from political leaders to film critics, so scared of one movie? Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving deep into the Bengal Files, an upcoming political drama directed by Vivek Agnihotri. This isn't just another Bollywood film. It is a cinematic mirror reflecting one of the darkest, most painful chapters of India's history. So grab your seats because this discussion is going to be intense. But before starting the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel and also like the video. When we talk about Vivek Agnihotri, one thing is certain that he never shies away from the truth. He has never been the kind of filmmaker who plays it safe. He doesn't chase glamour, he doesn't chase formulas, and he certainly doesn't chase box office trends. Instead, he chases truth, raw, uncomfortable, often controversial, but always impactful. With the Tashkent Files, he asked a question no one dared to raise in mainstream cinema. What really happened to former Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri? The film wasn't just a thriller, it was an eye-opener, forcing the audience to think about history in ways textbooks never allowed. Then came The Kashmir Files, a film that didn't just perform at the box office, it created a nationwide conversation. For the first time, millions of Indians witnessed on screen the heartbreaking exodus of Kashmiri Pandits, something that had been kept in silence for decades. Love it or hate it, one thing was undeniable, the film shook the nation to its core. Vivek Agnihotri has built a reputation for telling stories that mainstream narratives often ignore. And now he returns with the Bengal Files. This isn't just another project, it feels like the natural next step in his mission to spotlight those forgotten chapters of Indian history. Chapters filled with pain, violence, and human suffering that many would prefer to ignore. He has a unique storytelling style. He doesn't just present facts, he weaves them with human emotions. He shows you not only the events but also the tears, the fear, the betrayal, the trauma that ordinary people live through. That's why his films hit hard. They aren't just about history, they are about humanity. And the Bengal Files is exactly that film that tears open the pages of Bengal's violent past, pages that were deliberately left unread, maybe even erased. Set in 1946, just a year before India's independence, the Bengal File takes us into one of the bloodiest chapters of India's history. The Great Calcutta Killings, also known as Direct Action Day, and the horrors that followed in the Noakhali riots. These were not just riots, they were massacres. Streets of Kolkata burned. On August 16, 1946, the Muslim League called for direct action to demand the creation of Pakistan. What began as a political protest soon spiraled into unprecedented communal violence. Kolkata, then called Calcutta, turned into a city of death. Streets were drenched in blood. Homes were set ablaze. The very air was filled with smoke, screams, and the cries of those begging for mercy. It wasn't a clash, it was carnage. People were killed not for what they did, but simply for who they were. Families that had lived together for generations suddenly became enemies. Neighbors turned against neighbors. And then came the Noakhali riots in East Bengal, where the terror continued. Villages were looted, women were assaulted, countless families fled their ancestral homes. Gandhi himself had to walk barefoot through Noakhali in an attempt to restore peace, because the violence was beyond the control of politics and policing. This is the grim backdrop of the Bengal Files. It is not fiction, it is not exaggerated, these events really happened, yet they are barely spoken today. And this is where Vivek Agnihotri steps in. His films doesn't sugarcoat the brutality. He doesn't hide behind poetic metaphors or polished filters. He shows Bengal as it was in 1946, burning, bleeding, begging for justice. The Bengal Files isn't just a film, it's a testimony. It reminds us that the price of silence, the cost of division, is always paid by the innocent. The Bengal Files dramatize this chilling history. To truly understand the Bengal Files, we must first understand Kolkata itself. Because this city wasn't just a backdrop, it was the beating heart of Bengal. By the mid 1940s, Kolkata was already a city under stress. It was one of the capital of British India, a hub of education, culture and revolution. But beneath the grandeur, there were deep fractures. 1943 had already devastated Bengal, killing millions through starvation and disease. People were angry, people were desperate, the soil was already soaked in grief. Now add to this the rising demand for partition. The Muslim League called for direct action day on August 16, 1946 to push for Pakistan. What was meant to be a political protest became an invitation for violence. Kolkata, a city of poets, thinkers, and freedom fighters, overnight became a battlefield. Shops were looted, trams overturned, houses burned. Hindu and Muslims who had lived as neighbors for generations suddenly saw each other as enemies. The very streets that once echoed with Rabindranath Thakur's verses now echoed with cries of terror. In 4 days of bloodshed, thousands were killed, and the city's soul was scarred forever. And it didn't end there. The fire spread to East Bengal, Noakhali. Here, villages were ravaged. Women were humiliated and brutalized. Entire Hindu families were forced to flee, leave behind their ancestral homes. Mahatma Gandhi himself had to walk through Noakhali for months, preaching peace because words spoken from Delhi were not enough to heal Bengal. And yet, despite such horror, decades later, how often do you hear about this in schools? How often is it shown in cinema? Almost never. Silence wrapped around these tragedies like a shroud. That silence is what the Bengal Files dares to break. For the first time, a mainstream film forces us to look back at 1946 Kolkata not as a forgotten footnote of partition, but as a chapter that changed the very destiny of India. From what we have seen in the trailer and reports, the film promises a raw, powerful narrative. The dialogues hit hard, echoing the pain and helplessness of that time. The screenplay interweaves personal stories with political realities, ensuring we don't just watch history, we feel it. Performances by Mithun Chakraborty, Pallavi Joshi, Darshan Kumar, Shashwat Chatterjee and Anupam Kher as Mahatma Gandhi brings intensity and depth. The direction, classic. No compromise, no filters, just brutal honesty. This isn't a film made for comfort, it's made to disturb, to awaken, to remind. But what is a Vivek Agnihotri film without controversy? From the Tashkent Files to the Kashmir Files, every film of his has sparked debates, walkouts, protests, and even legal challenges. And the Bengal Files is no different, perhaps even bigger in scale. When the trailer launch was planned in Kolkata, the event faced sudden disruptions. The police claimed there was no proper permissions, then mysteriously wires at the venue were cut, power was lost, and organizers were forced to shift the launch to a hotel. But even there, chaos followed. Soon after, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee filed a case against the film, arguing that it could disturb harmony and spark tensions. But the courts stepped in quickly, issuing a stay order. In simple words, the government tried to block it, but the judiciary said, let the film breathe. This raises the biggest question. Why is Bengal's government so afraid of one film? Is it because Agnihotri is digging into wounds that politicians prefer to keep buried? Is it because these truths clash with certain narratives that paint partition and its violence selectively? Or is the film simply too raw, too unfiltered for the comfort of today's political establishment? The controversy doesn't stop there. Descendants of historical figures portrayed in the movie, like Gopal Mukherjee, have filed legal notices, claiming that the film misrepresents their family's role. On the other hand, supporters argue that Agnihotri is only showing what history books deliberately erased. So, what happens when history, politics, and cinema collide? You get the Bengal Files, a film that isn't just fighting for box office numbers, but fighting for the very right to be seen. Whenever a government tries so hard to block a film, the obvious question arises: why? Why is Mamata Banerjee's government so determined to silence the Bengal Files? Let's break down some possibilities. The Great Calcutta Killings and Noakhali riots are not just historical events, they are political wounds. They expose the failures of leaders of that time, the communal tensions that shaped partition, and the helplessness of Bengal's governance. Showing this on the big screen could disturb carefully built political narratives. Mamata Banerjee has worked hard to project Bengal as a state of harmony, culture, and progress, but a film showing Kolkata burning in communal violence could clash with that image. It reminds people that Bengal has a history of deep divides, something political leaders don't want reopened, especially in an election sensitive environment. The Bengal government argues that the film could create communal disharmony, but the hidden concern may be political polarization. If audiences walk out of theaters with strong emotions, the blame or sympathy might shift in unpredictable directions, something no ruling party wants to risk. And here is the biggest picture. History is power. Whoever controls the past controls the narrative of the present. By blocking the Bengal Files, Mamata Banerjee's government may be trying to prevent uncomfortable questions about why such events were hidden, who benefited from the silence, and how those scars still affects Bengal's politics today. So, is the government worried about communal peace, or is it worried about political consequences? That's the question viewers and voters must decide for themselves. Despite all hurdles, audiences are eager. People across India are waiting to see the untold history of Bengal on the big screen. Emotional reaction from early screenings hint that the film will leave viewers shaken with tears and goosebumps. For some, it will be a painful reminder, for others, it will be a revelation, and for all of us, it will be a cinematic experience unlike any other. The Bengal Files is officially set to release on September 5, 2025. While controversies continue to swirl, as of now, there is no official delay. Vivek Agnihotri himself has said he will not bow down to political pressure. So unless the unimaginable happens, the film will hit theaters as scheduled. So what do you think? Will the Bengal Files rewrite how we look at Kolkata's past? Or will politics and protest bury the truth once again? One thing is certain, this film is more than cinema. It's a chapter of history brought back to life, and everyone must watch it for once. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, are you planning to watch the Bengal Files in theaters? Also do let us know if you watched the Tashkent Files and Kashmir Files or not. Until next time, I am signing off. Thanks for watching.